everybody, welcome back to Project Spatial. I am so happy to have you here with me. My name is Katie Scheurer and I am here to increase your spatial impact. And today I wanted to go over the 10 questions that I always ask whenever somebody shows up at my office and knocks on the door and goes, "Hey, I need a map for this." Because it's never that simple, and anybody that has been in those shoes knows that there are always a ton of follow-up questions. But if you start with these 10 questions, you'll get the majority of your information that you need to be able to at least hit that first draft as best as you can. The first question, and one that I think is probably the most important question, is what kind of project is this going to be? Get them to talk about the project, because you can learn so much information and you might actually end up answering a fair amount of these questions just by that one question of what is the project about? Because then you can figure out, like, is this going to be a project that is going to be all-encompassing? Is this a project that's going to continue on? Is this a project that you're going to have to build out a large amount of information, or is it going to be a small amount of information? And all of these things lead to, what do they really need? You know, do you need a map? Do you need an app? Do you need a mobile application, a web application? Do you need something that's going to be a form that you can collect information from? All of those certain things are things that you need to know, and so by asking them to talk about their project, you can start kind of figuring out what you really need to focus on. So question number 2 is this a continuous project or just a one-off? And this is important to know, because if this is a continuous project, you want to make sure that when you build it first, you build it to be sustainable. Where if it's a one-off project, you probably don't need to spend all the time of building it into the database and making sure that you have sustainable services, and you can just kind of do a one-off thing, something that's temporary, something that you can archive away really quickly. And you don't have to spend as much time and effort on making sure that it is a well-rounded full project. You just need to fill the service quickly. So question number 3 is, does this information need to be publicly available to external customers, to internal customers? You know, what kind of security levels do you need is really what you're looking for at this question. But a lot of times people don't understand what security levels for your information are, and they don't know what can be made public and what has to be internal into just your company information, and what can be shared with contractors and what can't. So by asking them who their user is going to be for this information is a good way to understand what kind of security levels do you need to provide this information at. And it also is a way to understand, is this something that they're really going to want to have out to the public, because that might add some more time to your project. Make sure to hit subscribe if you want to be notified by every single video upload that I have. Hit the bell, and then you can also sign up for my newsletter down in the description below. So question number 4 is, do you need paper records or digital? And digital can be a lot of different things. So you want to make sure, if they say, I want it digital, do they just want a PDF or a JPEG, something like that? Or are they really looking for a web application that is fully interactive? Are they looking for something that's going to have mobile capabilities, or both? You want to kind of understand what kind of product do they need, or do they need the paper product where they're going to be using a piece of paper, a printed map in a report, or they're going to have a full-on presentation where they need a very large paper map. Understanding these, it changes a lot of things, and it especially changes the cartography that you're going to use. The cartography for a paper product versus a digital product is going to be completely different, because digital, you can zoom in, zoom out, you can change colors on different levels, you can add labels, you can rotate labels, you can do all sorts of things, where cartography is on paper is going to be completely static. So you might have to spend a lot more time placing individual labels and tweaking colors and making sure that when it prints out versus what's on your screen, that it still makes sense and that yellow didn't fade out to completely nothing. So you want to make sure that you're playing with those sorts of things and understanding, do you need your paper cartography or do you need digital cartography? So question number 5 is, does the data need to be static or dynamic? Now, obviously, again, like question 4, if you have a paper product, it's going to be static. It's not going to be a dynamic piece. But if you're doing a online or a digital product for them, you want to know, is this going to be static information, or is this something that's going to have a continuous live feed, or is it just something that needs to be pulling in the new information every day, or what kind of frequency they're looking for? Even if you have a digital product, sometimes you don't want it to be dynamic. Sometimes you do want it to be static or at least controlled information. And that's good to know because that might change how you store your information and how that digital product is consuming things. So question number 6 is, are you going to need this offline? So the important part in that is, if you have a network issue in your area where it's hard to get connectivity, or if you're going to be out in kind of the middle of nowhere, or you're just not going to have electronics with you when you're using this information, you might even want to consider doing a paper offline map. And sometimes that's the best thing that you can do for somebody, is just giving them a paper map to be their offline map. Now, you can also do offline digital products, and there's some extra effort that goes into that because you have to make sure that you have syncing capabilities and upload capabilities, download capability, all those kinds of things. So all of those different sources can change the amount of time that it goes into. And if you're creating offline paper products and they're making edits and then they expect somebody to put that back into the database, is that going to be you? Is it going to be somebody else that's entering that information? You need to kind of understand that, because if they're expecting to come back with a piece of paper and say, here you go, here's your edits, and you weren't planning on spending that time editing that information and re-entering all that information, digitizing it, adding attributes, all that sort of thing, you might not be ready for that, and you might not have the time to get it into the system when they need it to be in there. So this leads us straight into question number 7 of, will this project alter project layers or our normal data sets? And this is information that you need to know, because if you are providing a digital product that people are going to be interacting with live information, you need to make sure that they have the editing capabilities that they're going to need to be able to edit that information. You also want to know, is this people that you trust to edit this information? Do they have permissions to edit this information? Do you need to change security levels, do some training, that sort of thing? Or is it something where they can truly go in and edit it and it's all good and you don't need to see it again, you don't need to review it or anything like that? That's going to change how you set up those editing properties and essentially how much training you need to give when you give out this product. So question number 8 is, what reference information do you need? Now, this is really good because you want to understand how much background information are they really going to need. If this is something where you have 5, 6 project layers of information, you're already stacking on a ton of cartography, you're already stacking, putting a bunch of information on there. Do you really need to have every house addressed for this project? Or can things just kind of fade into the background, and the background is truly just a vague reference? You don't really need that information, but it's good to have it. You need to understand how much information they need, and is this maybe a project that you need particular reference information? So if you're doing a data collection on wildlife that is around wetlands, well, having wetland reference information is going to be extremely important to that project, where your normal base map might not have that. So you need to make sure that you're asking what kind of information do they need along with just their project information that they're looking for. So question number 9 is, will this lead to similar projects or future projects? And this one's good to know because sometimes if you're going to be doing another project that's similar to this in the future, even if it's not the exact same project, you're going to want to make sure you save your symbology, save your reference information, save the project information, and keep it in an area that's archivable and retrievable. Because if you're going to need to reduplicate this, even if it's with changes, it's a lot easier to work off of something you've done in the past and just kind of recycle it than to recreate everything again. So if they have some knowledge on if it is going to be recreated, you also might want to spend a little bit of extra time on the first iteration so you don't have to spend as much time on the second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. And the final question, number 10, which I think is sometimes the most important one, is when do you need this by? Always make sure that you have a deadline, because there have been times where I've talked to people and we kind of get this project figured out and I'm going, okay, this is going to take me, a week or two to come up with my current load. And they go, yeah, I need that tomorrow. And you're like, yeah, so that's not going to work. And so you want to make sure that you guys are on the same page of your turnaround time. So thank you for hanging through all of these 10 things, and if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit subscribe down below and give this video a like. It really helps me spread the word about GIS and helps you increase your spatial impact. I'll see you soon. Bye.